Blau und weiß sein Leben lang. Hallo meine Leute. Willkommen zum einzigen Schalke Podcast auf English. That's right, folks. Officially the world's only English Schalke podcast. This is episode 124 of SchalkeMerica, and I'm your host, Richard Kharman. Joining me on the show, as always, co-host Jack Mangan. How are we doing tonight, Jack?
So is this going to be a thing where you have a different character that you unveil every week?
Maybe.
Last week it was Schalke Jesus. Now you have the little shawl going on, a little Schalke monk action.
If it continues us winning, why not? Yeah, I had to get off that monkey off my back, which is my hair. Apparently was weighing me down, weighing the club down. Apparently, and cut my hair before the match, and look at that, we win. Look at that. It must have been me the whole time.
Yeah, the collector's item, the Royal Schalke victory, wasn't super convincing. Certainly not as convincing or decisive, I guess you would say, as the match against Hoffenheim earlier in the year. But
sure,
we'll take as many of these as we can on our farewell tour from the Bundesliga here. So, yeah, certainly a brief moment of happiness for the fan base in the midst of a pretty dreadful last year or so.
Yeah, it certainly is. What we've been saying over the last, ever since pretty much relegation has been obvious that it was coming, is that end the season strong, right? Give us some momentum going into next season in the Zweite Bundesliga. There's no delusions now by anybody that that's where we're going. Even Ralf Fährmann after the game, had his, I guess, comment to the fans saying, hey, we know times are tough. We're going to be in second division next year, but, keep the faith, and we're going to keep trying to win hard and play hard for you guys and, stay supporting us. So, I mean, everyone's resigned to that. It's obvious right now. Before we get too doom and gloom with the next season, I see Dirk is in the crowd as well. Dirk got a haircut as well. So yeah, we both got haircuts. We both cut off our long hair. I think that's what it is. Long hair is out for 2021. It's all short hair. I don't know what you got, Jack, but my hair is. I wanted to buzz it really, but anyway, enough about me. Let's get into the game because this was an interesting game from the get-go. The lineups was the one that's really kind of started this one off for us. Look at the opposition first. Ginkiewicz in goal. They went with a 4-2-2-2 formation, at least from what I saw from the beginning. Obviously, things changed during a match, but in the back four, they went with Gomni, Udukai. He's the guy who's had the famous header with Mark Uth to get him injured, not intentionally, of course, and then also injured, I think, Mascarell as well in that game. Partnering with him is Guvilev and Framberger in defense, and then the two holding midfielders, if you will be Cruzo and Kadira. Old friend Caligiuri was on the pitch, as well as Vargas, who was very dangerous in this one. And then up top you had Hahn and Richter. With the opposition, obviously Richter or Richter, however you want to pronounce it, he was going to be the dangerous man always, but always also the guy you got to look out for is a former Schalke player, Caligiuri, huh?
Yeah, Caligiuri out there. I think I would agree with you in terms of Vargas presenting a threat down the left-hand side pretty consistently. They were sending him at Aiden's direction, so that was definitely a kind of a point of emphasis for them. And from the Schalke perspective, it's exactly what you want to see at this point, in my opinion, because this lineup has Aiden in it, has Timo Becker in it, Malik Chow, Chan Bosman, all of those guys who you would expect to be. Maybe we don't know as much, Aiden yet because this is only second really appearance for us, so certainly less of a sample size for him, but potentially him as well. And all these guys figure to be big contributors next season in the Zweite Bundesliga. So absolutely get them into the mix, as much as you can alongside guys like Serdar and Harit and Huntelaar and Mascarell, who I thought was actually pretty good in this game. And he's another one of those players that, I'm always kind of hot and cold on. In times it frustrates me, times I kind of like what he's doing. I thought this was a good game for him as well.
Yeah, it was the lineup for us was certainly interesting because obviously Ralf Fährmann back from injury, so he kind of is going to take back the helm from Frederick Renov, especially because Renov is a backup goal, or I should say a lone goalkeeper. So it made sense that Fährmann was back. Becker and Thiaw made sense in the back three, but Sambuli, so leaving some much to be desired. We'll get to the bench here in a second, but, as you meant, Aiden and then Uchipka on the wings, and you had Bazduan, Mascarell, Serdar in the middle with Huntelaar and Harit up top. So some things to note, Sambuli obviously in defense, Bazduan in the lineup as well, and then also on the bench we had some names we hadn't seen in a while, Paciencia, Salif Sane is back in the action, Mustafi back, and Karim Çalhanoğlu resigned to the bench in this one. Jack, overall thoughts on the lineup? Certainly had some good moves, but also some moves where you're like, I wonder if this is going to work or not.
I mean, it was pretty similar to what we saw last week in terms of the shape and everything. Obviously, Stambouli in there because of the injuries. I mean, Sane's coming back, but we had Nastasic and Sane had been unavailable, and then Mustafi was removed from the entire matchday squad last week for football reasons. So, I mean, apart from Stambouli being back there, which once again is not my ideal thing, I think for the most part I'm fine with what I saw, and it's nice to actually look at a Schalke. I mean, within reason, but it's nice to look at a Schalke bench and have there actually be 4 or 5 players that you think on their day could be good enough to be in the starting lineup, just kind of depending on who gets picked. So because there's been times this season with the injuries and everything where you look at the bench and there's like 1 or 2 guys that you're like, yeah, that'd be worth substituting on, and everyone else is just kind of filler,
right?
And you're kind of hoping they don't really even get the minutes. So maybe if we get everyone healthy, we can kind of finish up strong here, hopefully grab another result or 2 if we can, and at least give a good account of ourselves on the way out.
Yeah, because this win was important, mostly for motivation and getting us into good form going to next season. I mean, did the mathematics, and officially we could be officially relegated on match day 30, which is 2 days away. Or had we lost this game, it would have been the next game after this. So at least we still saved off relegation for one more week. But I think overall the lineup was a good one. I mean, Can Bazuan, who got into the lineup, did some things nice. Huntelaar, who arguably our best player last game, showed again why he is class. And I mean with a C, not with a K like his name. But there's some good things. But I think by the team overall, I like the combination play that we'll get to between Harit and Huntelaar in this game. Becker and Thiaw continue to impress. As Raul had a really great game, I thought overall. So overall, I was happy with the game. We knew Mark was going to be back, at least potentially in the lineup. He didn't make the bench, but it's good to see that he's healthy again, and we're slowly getting healthy again. It's end of the season here. Just finish on a strong note, I think, and this is a good way to start. We talked how last week we started to see some progress, right? Wasn't the greatest, but it was some progress, and I think maybe this week is even a step even further because we scored and we didn't give up a goal.
and just to make sure we're on the same page, like, because I did see 1 or 2 people being like, I kind of like our schedule here at the end of the season. Like, we're 13 points behind the playoff spot at this moment, so we would basically, I mean, essentially, you're in all likelihood looking at having to win 5 of the next 6 matches, and then simultaneously hoping that Bielefeld and Cologne are dropping like all of those games. So we're not concerned about survival. We're just concerned about getting some of the younger guys who are probably going to be significant in the squad next year minutes now, and then also just putting in some good performances, laying down a structure, especially if GRAMMOZIS is going to be the manager heading into the fall. So there's that continuity. It's actually important then to try to install a system and a tactical plan that he can potentially build on going into next year as well.
Yeah, and I mean, as of right now, we got a good core of youngsters that have been getting some solid pitch time. I think, obviously Timo Becker, Malik Thiaw, Can Bazuan starting to get some play time now, Aidan lately, as well as Çalhanoğlu. Hoppy, if he stays with the team, he's likely to be mixed in the fold. And then you'd probably look at some other youngsters from the Knapenschmiede as well. So it's good stuff in that regards from GRAMMOZIS. You almost kind of wish Huntelaar stays another year, really, just the way we've been playing the last couple of games. But getting to the action, one of the youngsters that we talked about, Bazduan, he gets off a cross into the box that usually Ginkiewicz, who's really solid and reliable, somehow inexplicably coughs it up to our fortune. And luckily, birthday boy Suat Serdar, 24 years old, pounces on it, gets a goal early. I mean, that was a huge, I think, from a mentality standpoint for us to get on the board early as opposed to going down early, right?
Nice to see Boswan getting into that kind of area again, because he had some nice moments in that part of the pitch last game. But yeah, I mean, it's not a particularly good ball in from him.
No.
And it's a random and freak mistake from the goalkeeper. And like you said, luckily Serdar's there to mop it up. Nice little gift wrap birthday present for him on his birthday. So.
Yeah, I was just getting settled into the game. I was on a goal scored. Like, what happened? Oh, good. We scored. What happened here? So I had to watch the replay. I had to rewind to see what happened, because I'm like, how did that happen? Like, how did Ginkiewicz miss this? And it just a blunder. It happens.
And then, of course, wouldn't you know it, we scored no more goals the rest of the match, and rarely looked like we had that many of them in us, which is why I'm gonna once again just temper expectations a little bit on the back of this one, because we got the victory, but still, I think you would say Augsburg probably had the better of the balance of the chances overall. Yeah, maybe not significantly, but slightly. And it's not as if we had a number of strong opportunities that we just missed for whatever reason. We're still in that position where when it gets to the crucial moment in the final third, that last pass isn't there. The wrong decision's getting made. Things are slow. But I do think that the player that you mentioned already, Huntelaar, has been instrumental in calming things down a little bit in that area, and his hold up play and his ability to connect with people has certainly been useful in the last couple matches.
Yeah, I mean, of the opportunities that we had in this game, majority of them came from Huntelaar, either getting the shots off himself, people finding him, or he's setting people up. There was a play early on, I think that, first Augsburg got an offsides, and Ralph Fährmann ended up clearing all the way down to Huntelaar, who gives it right to Harit, back to Huntelaar, back to Harit. And that guy was very close to getting scored and had several opportunities as well. Huntelaar had some chances here and there. First half, we start off, as always, it seems like the first 30 minutes are good, and then as the half came to an end, you can see Augsburg slowly get into the match, more and more possession, and we struggled to see out that first half. Luckily, it came when we did, because I think if they had a couple more minutes, they could have resulted in a goal. But 1-0, and I think that's an improvement from what we've seen, I think, but we needed that halftime whistle there, Jack, because Augsburg was starting to tilt the field towards the direction.
Yeah, the first 15 minutes, I think, especially, were pretty strong from Schalke.
Yeah, the press, right?
Yeah, that, but also just some competent offensive play. There were a couple different moves that required us to string multiple passes together, and there were some uncharacteristically smooth offensive plays early on. This is not high level in terms of good insight analysis here, but this is the one thing I'll say in terms of the impact that GRAMMOZIS has had. Schalke are, and we talked about this a little bit last week in terms of players arriving at the same time to put pressure on people and kind of coordinating a little bit better in that way. But yeah, it's so much easier to discern the shape of this team at the moment, and some of that's maybe just the opponent that we were playing. They're not pushing us out of position as much, but so often over the past year, you look at any particular snapshot, and it's difficult to tell what the system is supposed to be for Schalke because the spacing's wrong, the discipline's off, people out of position, they're bunched up, all kinds of things, and it's much easier to when it zooms out, get a pretty clear picture. It seems like people are holding position better, they're working with each other, they're in, and that kind of organization I think has been evident, even if it's not necessarily leading to any sort of improved offensive output, which has been one of our big deficiencies. But I do feel as though structurally and our ability to possess the ball in midfield and everything is definitely improved over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, I think I'd have to agree with that. You could really see it in the second half, especially when Hoppe ended up coming into the game for Huntelaar and Harit. You could see that he was really the structure there. They were obviously trying to hold ship there for the last few minutes of the game, but you could definitely see the structure is definitely better there. They're a little bit more disciplined. It seems like, they're not creating opportunities offensively, but we're starting to see some of those pressing and some good stuff. It's just not all coming together yet for a full 90. That's as close as we came to a full 90 so far. The second half started, Augsburg started with the pressure again in the second half. Richter had a couple opportunities, had a sensational overhead bicycle kick that had he scored, it was going right on target. Raul had a great save on that. And they kept coming in waves. We had some opportunities as well. There's a couple opportunities. I can't remember off the top of my head who exactly had them. I think SchalkeMerica had one, Harit maybe, and Huntelaar as well. The commentators had made a comment that
as they tend to do.
They tend to do, right? Once in a while. That Serdar was maybe potentially the man of the match because he had scored the only goal. I tend to disagree with that. Not that Serdar played, didn't play great. I think this is one of the better games in a while because we had been very critical of how he's been playing as of late. He had an okay game, but I think again Huntelaar showing his class, that he was a cream of the crop, and you can tell he is a class above everybody else with the way he can hold the ball up, the little things he does. Harit looked so much better in the last two games with Huntelaar versus anybody else, it seems, this season, and so nice to have him back, and that'd be my pick for man of the match. Who would your pick be? Raul is obviously another close choice. Who would you pick?
Serdar gets a shout. Huntelaar gets a shout. Mascarell gets a shout from me as well.
Yeah.
Once again, I was impressed with him in this one, which I also thought was interesting because so often this season we've had multiple defensive midfielders kind of in a partnership back there. And this was one where he was kind of the lone man patrolling things. Then the combination of Serdar and Bozdogan in possession are often pushing up higher together. Yeah. I don't know if that affected his, how Mascarell performed in this one, but he seemed to be doing better than he often does when he's with somebody else for some reason. Anyway, Serdar, what I will say about his performance, I do think it was obviously better than last week when I was pretty critical of him. The goal doesn't do much for me just because, he was there and good for him and he finished it, but it's not, like a particularly great goal that he scores. He still had some moments though. I can remember one in the second half, I think, where he receives the ball and he has both Harit and Huntelaar in the box in front of him making runs, and he could play the ball to either of them and instead decides to shoot from probably like 5 yards outside the box, doesn't get it on target, and both of his teammates were pretty upset with him, and rightfully so. Those kind of things, those decisions are always frustrating. He was the most pressed player from what I saw in the match by Augsburg, so we had a lot of pressure in this game on him, and I think he handled that relatively well. He certainly seemed to be able to get out of trouble in transition better than he did last game. Had a couple nice switches of play and some outlets, a little bit more efficient in terms of his movement, where he was doing too many spins and stuff previously and dribbling into trouble. So an improved performance. If that's that game should be the baseline for Serdar.
Yes,
he wasn't spectacular in that match. He was good. He wasn't spectacular, but like that should be the baseline for Serdar. That's the kind of player he is, and that's why we're frustrated with the time. Is like that's an entirely reasonable performance for him to be able to replicate on a fairly consistent basis, I think.
I agree 100%. And yeah, you're gonna say that the team's struggling, everyone's struggling, so he looks worse. So like sure, but the better players should step up. At least there's no excuse. Huntelaar's been playing lights out. Obviously, it's 2 games, but if you're a better cream of the player, you should be able to have a more consistent baseline, higher baseline than everybody else, and be able to hopefully bring some other people with you. Looks like Glenn's in the chat here says Ral saved our bacon, stopping the overhead kick. Also believes he saved 2-on-1 opportunities for Augsburg. Yeah, I thought he had a really great game. He also comments Serdar faced 91% off the Augsburg pressure. Yeah, Augsburg was trying to target him, but he did very well, I thought. Overall, to your point,
something else we talked about last week that we continued again is Huntelaar just yelling at people, which I continue to. The guy has the right mentality.
Absolutely,
Huntelaar is the kind of competitor that you want on your team, because he's getting upset with the officials when they're making decisions that he doesn't like. He's being vocal about that. He's calling for passes all the time when he thinks he should be receiving them. He's letting people know. He's constantly. He's talking to his teammates, and I have to hope that they're absorbing some of that. And I could be reading way too much into this, but like I felt like there was even like a body language thing from like Harit when he's in a partnership with Huntelaar. Yes. Just maybe the experience and sort of the reputation of Huntelaar. Like it feels like Harit is
some swagger was back.
Yeah, it seems like he has maybe a little bit extra motivation, maybe slightly more focused because of who he's playing with. Yeah. And he wants to have a good account of himself. That's entirely speculation on my part, and I could be imagining that, but I feel like I've noticed that a little bit as well.
I'm not. I see that for sure. When those 3 games that Hoppy had a really fantastic run, Harit was looking similar as well. Because Hoppy's obviously fantastic, and Harit had confidence going. But there, you saw in the last 2 games how he has. It seemed like his play has gotten better, right? You saw today or this weekend, this last game, is in particular, like the give and goes. You saw him start doing some of the feints that he did before and taking guys on one versus 2 and. To your point about Huntelaar, screaming for the ball. After a while, Harit started getting in his head. He's like, okay, I'm gonna keep giving the ball to Huntelaar, and you started seeing that more and more. They kept trying to find each other, which is good. Good players try to tend to find each other and play give and goes all the time, and it results in good plays. So absolutely, no, I loved it. And I also, I noticed, after Huntelaar came off, he was one of the loudest people cheering after they won, So, that's the kind of mentality, to your credit, exactly what we need. And it was also nice to see GRAMMOZIS really, pumping the guys up, towards the end of that game when we needed some extra motivation. He's out there yelling and giving the guys some proper, words of encouragement, I guess, to keep going. That was nice to see, and he was getting fired up as well for a lot of calls too. So that was good. Asamoah was fired up as well on the bench. Buskins as well. So that's good. It's all good signs. We celebrate like we won the Champions League, but we hadn't won in a while. There's a second win in 2021, second win of the season. So it's.
No, a performance they can feel good about. I'm not saying that we like definitively deserved to win the match, but we were absolutely fairly even match. We were in that. We had chances that we could have converted. They had chances they could have converted. I feel pretty good about that, and I don't think it's ridiculous they were celebrating the way they are. I mean, they gotta take what they can get at this point. And I loved some of the comments that Huntelaar made, if I saw the proper translation, but basically like, we got this one, and now we're gonna go out and we're gonna get another one. Like, just very matter of fact. Like this is the first one, and now we're just gonna keep going. And I mean, I
love that.
Whether or not they're gonna be able to back that up, I have some doubts. But it isn't the worst schedule to end the season. And if they can kind of keep this momentum, who knows? They can get a couple draws, a couple wins. Who knows?
Yeah, Huntelaar was basically saying that we're taking this one game at a time. Let's go to the next game and take a win and keep going from there. That's it. That's our only focus at the moment. And so that's the way to approach it, really. Glenn says, would love Huntelaar to come back for at least one more season with us. He can be our Claudio. Yeah.
I thought I saw something in the past week where there were some conversations happening about that. Like somebody was at the club was trying to convince Huntelaar to stay for another season.
I mean, Gelsenkirchen is near Amsterdam. It's close to his home. I'm just saying, but I would love to see it. I think he would be great, great understudy or teacher, mentor for all the young strikers we have. I don't expect him to play 90 minutes, even though now he looks like he can play 90 minutes per game. But
he's not going to stay healthy. I mean, if he comes back for the season, he's not going to be available every game for the entire season or anything like that. But he's a guy that just his presence and experience, you hope can help settle things down and give something to some of these young players that are coming through.
It's certainly a boost, if not on the pitch, also in the locker room as well. We see a similar thing with Ibrahimovic in Milan. He's 57 years old or however old he is, but he's got that. He's talented on the pitch, but also brings up the young players and how they learn through him. So hopefully with Huntelaar we get something similar to that next year. But we'll see. I mean, all indications are he's still going to retire, but hopefully maybe someone can convince him. Maybe his kids can convince him to keep playing. Who knows? Jake says, at the risk of being a wet blanket in the room, but most of our top performers won't be with us next season. That's very likely. Thoughts on how we'll compete next season with returning players? I mean, it's going to be youngsters.
Yeah, that's what we were mentioning earlier in the show, is just the number of players in the lineup. Iden, Becker, Chow, Bosdowan all getting minutes. And that's what we want to see, because, I mean, the likes of Serdar, Harit, those kind of people are less likely to be with the team next season. And it's probably going to be the younger guys, the guys that are more recently in the first team from the Knappes-Schmiede. They're going to be the bulk of the squad, or the backbone of the squad. So get them as many minutes as we can from here on out, because the results don't matter at this point anyway. We're going down. So
and of the veterans that we have that may stay, it's probably the ones who've been with the team for a long time. Fairman, right? You expect Fairman possibly to stay, try to bring the club back up, and maybe some other ones here and there. I don't know about Stambouli, but there'll be a few I think that'll stay. You would think Mascarello will probably leave as well.
Stambouli created two of Augsburg's best chances. The first one with the failed karate kick clearance.
Hit Mascarell? The one that hit Mascarell?
No, I don't know if it was that one. That might have been different.
Oh, okay.
There was one earlier where there was a cross that was played in.
Right.
And there were two other Schalke players between Stambouli and where the nearest attacker was. The ball was going to be easily cleared by Becker or whoever was there, and Stambouli instead tries to reach his leg up to his head to clear it, which creates I think it was Richter or Vargas or something who was coming in and got a shot that hit the post right next to Fairman.
I think it was Vargas. Yeah. There
was a couple where it was just failed Stambouli clearances leading to actual good shots on target. And I think maybe it might have been. Do you remember the play earlier? Now I'm just picking on Stambouli, but do you remember?
You have your notes, don't you? Here's all he did.
It was early in the first half. I think Malik Chow tried to take the ball out, and he slipped while he was dribbling.
Yes.
And then he tried to dish it off to a teammate as he was falling, and I think he maybe just didn't see the Augsburg player, and it put us in a really bad situation. So it's not Stambouli's fault, but Mascarell is the one who's marking the most dangerous runner. He's got the body on him. So Stambouli, in my opinion, I don't play center back, but if you're not the guy who's directly putting a body on that most dangerous runner, you should maybe turn your head at some point and see if there's anybody coming in behind you, if there's any other runners. Yeah. And he just I think it might have been Richter, just runs right in front of him and past him and gets a one-on-one with Fairman, who comes up with a big I think it was a leg save. Early in the match. And it's just kind of those plays. It's where is your head at that early in the game? Just look around.
And hopefully for Thiao's sake as well, he learns not to make that mistake next time. Next time if you go down, either hold on to the ball or make sure it get cleared somewhere else, out of bounds. I mean, don't give it away like that in the middle of the pitch that it could lead to a dangerous play like it was. But that play by Stambouli, I mean, I don't know what he was thinking on that play. And it was, I don't know. To Matt's credit, I agree with him, especially the last two games. it felt like watching a team rather than a collection of players. Guys were playing more with each other, a lot of more give and goes, a lot more timed pressing. So it did look like a more cohesive unit really on the pitch, and that they were all on the same page for once, which is nice to see, right? It was an all right game. One other thing we can rest our hat on is that Augsburg are currently 11th in the table, so that's good, right? I think last time we played them, they were towards the bottom. They were one of the bottom teams with us. So, they've obviously improved, but a win's a win. We get to play Freiburg next. They're also struggling this season as well. Not as much as us, obviously, but they just lost this past weekend to a lowly team. I want to say Armenia maybe or somebody. We got another chance to pull off another win here just to keep things going, the momentum going. What are your thoughts going into this weekend after, the last couple of weeks of seeing, progress, small progress?
Yeah, that's really, you have to constantly make sure you're framing it in the right context, right? The Leverkusen game was still a loss.
Correct.
And it wasn't a particularly great, but against an opponent of that caliber, you were relatively pleased with the effort, and the golf wasn't
massive.
Huge at least. And this game, once again, the one goal we score is a pretty cheap goal from a random goalkeeper mistake. Outside of that, it is a very even game, so not a whole lot to get excited about. But yeah, there are small things that you're picking up on, the organization seems to be markedly improved. Now, does that mean that we're not going to see another defensive collapse at some point this season where we ship 3-4 goals?
Yeah.
And we see the the Schalke 04 memes again on Twitter. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I have liked the small improvements that I've seen, and that's the sad statement on where we are. Is the comment from Matt here? It's like, wow, it's actually like watching a team instead of just a collection of random.
We look like
people.
A Bundesliga team for once.
You would hope that would be like the baseline, but it's so often that you look around and you can't tell what the shape is, and people aren't seeming to be like moving in unison, which makes it so easy to pass around us and play through us, and those things have been a little bit better. So we'll take the small victories that we can. Yeah, no doubt about that. As you said, we got to take everything with a grain of salt. The positive news is GRAMMOZIS gets his first win, which is nice to see. For any manager, you want them to get their first win as soon as possible. It took us a while. He's got 4 points now through how many games he's got. It's a sad statement is that he's got almost half of our points, and he's our fifth manager. That's how bad it is right now. Obviously, so we'll see. The Freiburg match will be interesting. They got some players that can do damage. Strike has always done really well against us, it seems like. Freiburg has a well-managed team. Even though when they're struggling, they still play well. And they always seem to play us well, it seems like. Good thing for us, Niederlechner, no longer plays for them, but it doesn't matter. They can just find somebody else that can score on us. Even a mid-table Freiburg is probably still an overachieving Freiburg based on the kind of resources that team has. Like Christian Strike, even if it's like a season that's not quite what we've come to expect the last couple of years from them, still Christian Strike's doing a good job. Oh,
absolutely. He's one of the fan favorites, I would think. If not, shame on you. he's a great manager, I think. So for what he's had to do, another game this weekend. It's on Saturday, I believe, against Freiburg. We'll see how the game turns out. It's going to be certainly interesting. I'm curious more about the lineups than anything else. Anything else to add on this game or the Freiburg match?
No. Good on that front, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's look at some news now to end this whole thing here. First, let's get with some of the downer news, and then one of the bigger news really from this week, because there wasn't much going on. Alexander Jobst came down and says that he is stepping down after his family has received many threats this year, and he said he doesn't feel at ease anymore. So as of June 30th, he will step down as the marketing director for Schalke. That's big news because he's been with the club for over 10 years, and people are going to obviously say that he has been the reason why Schalke's been struggling, blah, blah, blah. Maybe one of the reasons, not the reason, obviously. But I don't know. I don't agree with that, and I think also it's never nice to hear people getting threats to their family because of football, soccer. That's the sad part to hear. But to see him stepping down after a while, it is a big shocker, I think, this week.
I feel like he's somebody who may end up just kind of having a little bit of a complicated legacy at Schalke. As you said, he's been there for a while. He gets a lot of credit for the growth of our brand internationally in certain areas, and some of the the financial issues aside, some of the high revenues that we're able to bring in and everything. But there's also, I think, a contingent of the fan base that views him as one of the main forces behind the calls for modernization of the club structure. And so he has a little bit of like a villain tag for those reasons. But from my understanding, he's somebody who's fairly well thought of outside of Schalke.
I mean, just look what he's done to the American brand and the North American brand over the last 5 to 10 years. Obviously they're trying to get into the American pool, which we're going to be grateful for, right? I mean, we're obviously SchalkeMerica, but they're trying different things. They're trying to stay with the trend of how things are going in the world these days with social media and this and that. So you got to give him credit for that. There's some things you want to hold against him, but I think he's done a lot of good as well. It's hard to see that now with the condition we're at right now, but I think he's done a lot of good, and it's going to be, like you said, he's highly regarded outside of Schalke.
Yeah, like along with Peter Knabel, like he's one of the guys that I feel like, as much as there have been calls for us to just clean house and bring a lot of people from the outside to get that outside perspective in, I do think that Jobs was at least viewed as one of the guys who probably was fairly competent in his position, even if you always weren't a fan of him. So in that perspective, it's a loss. And as far as his reasons, like if there's validity to what he's saying about him and his family receiving threats from Schalke fans, then that's of course horrible, and it's frustrating that there's people associated with us that think that's the right way to vent their frustration. So if that happens, then obviously on behalf of everybody, we apologize to him for that. But new age, man.
Yeah,
a lot of people that have been at the club for quite a while over the past couple of years have bowed out now. Clemens, Tonys, and others. So be interesting to see what happens going forward and what the new hierarchy and structure kind of looks like, and what kind of tone gets set.
Yeah, and one of the names actually we were linked with in terms of managers, Funkel, it looks like he signed with somebody, was it Cologne? I don't remember, somebody, one of the lowly team, maybe Mainz. He's joined them for the end of the season. So anyway, that's I just thought that was funny when I saw that today. So
Did you see Rangnick scouting Tedesco this past weekend? Wasn't he up in Russia?
Oh, he might have been.
Unless that was joke. I thought I was seeing screenshots of he was at like the Moscow derby or whatever. But like
maybe that's funny. He's gonna take over Moscow now. No, I don't know. He's trying to find his revolution somewhere. Okay, and Tedesco's not a bad man to do it. If they can get on the same page. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that, I guess. But to change, to shift gears here from the Alexander Jobst resigning, there was some good news then also as well. Timo Becker, another youngster, signs an extension through 2023. That's good news. We get to, we're hoping that maybe him and Thiaw can be the solid core of the defense, going forward, especially with the way that these two have played this season. They've probably been two of the better players overall as the season goes. So that's great because Thiaw signed an extension recently, right? Probably last month or so. So that's good to see both of them are signed up for at least for a little bit while longer, and we're not gonna lose them for free anytime soon. Too soon?
It's a joke, but it's also not a joke. We're laughing, but we are bringing that up for justifiable cause. The number of times that this has happened to us.
How many former Schalke players played in that PSG Bayern game today? Come on. How many of them left for free, right? So
Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, the legend, just scoring goals right and left.
He's starting for Bayern these days. Well, obviously somebody's hurt, but whatever. It is kind of funny, but no, overall it's great to see Timo Becker again signed with that extension, and happy for it. Hopefully we see some more of these youngsters get some of these signatures to make sure we play with them next year.
He deserves it, both him and Thiago. I mean,
absolutely.
We talked about it. Like there was a period of time earlier in the season where Becker was not necessarily a starting player at all, and he played himself into contention. This is kind of most after Kylian Ludwig was kind of taken away post Baum, I think. But I mean, Becker played his way into the starting lineup and is now one of our most consistent performers. So it's well deserved, and figures to be a big contributor going forward.
Yeah, I mean, at a time he's so competent in defense that he was actually trying to do two jobs at once. His job and Mustafi's job for a while. So good for him, right? He getting that extension here. Jake says, please message me how you two are going to be watching this fight the Bundesliga if ESPN doesn't come through next season. It'll probably be illegally in one of the bars, but we'll figure it a way. We'll let you know if we hear anything. Glenn says, in Canada they'll have no access as well. So I hope they get something figured out.
We might all have to do crimes, but barring that, hopefully we can find a way to get it some
for the sake of keeping this podcast going, right? We will see. We'll see. Oh, man. All right.
It wouldn't be bad for one season just for nostalgia's sake if I was watching, pirated streams, clicking out of pop-up ads every 10 seconds.
Yeah. Do a live stream that way. Hold on. I got to block the screen right here real quick. So that would be fun to do. All right. Anything else, Jack, you want to talk about tonight? I mean, it wasn't, super crazy. The game we won, but it wasn't anything dominating. A couple news tidbits this week, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I mean, some big news, but I mean, most of it,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, we don't need to beat it to death, and it's a nice brief moment of feel good feelings. Feel good feelings. That was eloquent. For a fan,
just like me, huh?
That's
commentators commenting.
Yeah, commentators commenting, man. People just doing what they do. Yeah. So keep it short, keep it sweet. Everyone be happy. Good week. Hopefully we can keep going.
Glück auf, right? All right, so let's wrap this bad boy up. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you sign up for the Schalke US newsletter. Get news on the club, all the latest and greatest from the local fan clubs across the US, Canada, North America in general. Hear some news from our podcast, and maybe hear some Zweite Bundesliga news in terms of where we can watch it, because we are all desperately waiting to find some information on that. Keep tuning in each week as we bring you the latest from the Royal Blues. We'd like to thank Schalke for providing us tidbits for our podcast tonight. Any topics you'd like us to discuss, any guests you'd like us to see on this podcast, send us a tweet at SchalkeMerica. We are more than happy to oblige. Jack, did you ever give your shout out to NBC4 Nashville there, or get your friend to go there and visit?
No, I don't think he did.
I'll
make the pilgrimage one of these days, and I'll probably have a strongly worded.
I think I'll be in the area actually, so I may have to go there too.
Get a picture in front of there if you can. That'd be good for the culture. But if all else fails with the broadcast rights, one of us can just go live in Germany for a year, and we'll record all the games on hand cam footage shakily, and we'll distribute them to all of our listeners on VHS in the mail.
There we go.
That'll be how we can watch the games.
There we go. If anyone has contacts with Irvin, tell him hook up with us so we can maybe get him to hold the camera for us. He has more access to it. So, Jack, where can our followers find you on social media?
At JM Mangan, JMMangan on Twitter.
And as always, you can follow me at R_KHARMAN anywhere on social media. And for those watching on YouTube, thank you. And everyone who's listened to our podcast, thank you again for following us this season. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, leave comments on the YouTube page. It'd be very much appreciated. We'll try to bring out some more videos here, especially as the season winds down here. We hope to have some special videos here coming out. So maybe some history, maybe some other things. We'll see. But until the next podcast comes, my friends, stay ready. We'll be with you soon. Tschüss.